Why does his death feel like mine? Congressman Park Seo-kwan whispers the question to his reflection at 2:17 in the morning. Rain streaks down the floor-to-ceiling windows of his office. His hand clutches his chest, fingers digging into silk shirt fabric, trying to stop the phantom pain. The nightmare, again. A dark alley, rain hammering pavement. A young man lying in blood, eyes open, lips forming words that make no sound. Seo-kwan kneels, pressing his palms against the wound, but nothing helps. And then, the heartbeat. Not his own. A second pulse pounding beneath his ribs. Thump, 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 thump. The stranger's heart stops. Seo-kwan's stops with it for one impossible second. He gasps awake every time at that exact moment, drenched and shaking, certain he's dying, but unable to die. Now, standing in his empty office, he stares at his reflection. Sharp jawline, tailored suit, the face of a man who controls rooms with a single word. But his voice cracks when he speaks again. Why do I feel like that's me? He doesn't know the man in the dream, never seen him in waking life. But for 6 months now, that stranger's death pulls him under like an anchor tied to his ribs. His phone buzzes on the desk behind him. Press conference 9 a.m. No mistakes, no distractions. Seo-kwan closes his eyes. The heartbeat echoes, steady, then frantic, then silent. Somewhere in the city, someone is alive whose pulse matches his own, and Seo-kwan doesn't know if that terrifies him or if it's the only thing that makes him feel human anymore. Have you ever felt like half of you is missing? Like somewhere out there, someone is living the life you were supposed to share? This is the story of 2 men who discover they're not strangers at all. Morning light filters weak and gray through the windows of a small diner in Koreatown. The smell of frying eggs and burnt coffee hangs in the air. Nyla Carter moves between tables with practiced efficiency. Black apron, hair pulled back, a quiet tiredness in her eyes that says she's been awake since 5. She's 22, 2 jobs, and she hasn't stopped searching for answers since the day police called her father's death an accident. An elderly Korean woman stumbles near the door, her purse spilling across the tile. Nyla is there in seconds, kneeling, gathering scattered receipts and coins with gentle hands. It's okay, ma'am. I've got it. The woman pats Nyla's cheek, eyes soft with gratitude. Good girl. Such a good girl. A voice joins in, warm, slightly rough from lack of sleep. Here, let me help. Nyla looks up. A young man crouches beside her, early 20s, worn jeans, faded delivery company jacket. His face is open, earnest. His hands move carefully as he helps the woman stand. You all right? He asks gently, and the elder nods, flustered but smiling. Nyla watches him. There's something steady about this stranger, like he's used to holding things together when they fall apart. Thanks, she says. He glances at her, and their eyes meet, his dark and clear, hers cautious but curious. Seo-jin, he offers. I deliver around here. Seen you before. Nyla, she stands, brushing her hands on her apron. You work a lot of hours. So do you. A small smile tugs at her lips. Guess we're both surviving. Surviving's better than nothing. He says it lightly, but there's weight beneath the words. Nyla recognizes that weight. She carries it too. Later, after the lunch rush dies, Nyla sits in the back storage room with a worn folder open on her lap. Inside, police reports, grainy photos, a handwritten list of names her father left behind. One name circled in red ink. Park Seo-kwan. Congressman, District 9. Her father had been an accounting clerk. Quiet, honest, the kind of man who believed the system worked if you followed the rules. Then one night, he told Nyla he was going to expose something big: money laundering, shell companies, officials turning government funds into private fortunes. 3 days later, he was dead. Hit and run. No witnesses. Case closed. Nyla's jaw tightens. She traces her father's handwriting with one finger. Seo Jin had said to her once, after noticing the folder, "People who ask too many questions have a way of disappearing." She'd looked him straight in the eye and replied, "Then I guess I'll have to be careful who's watching." Now, alone in the dim stockroom, she closes the folder, her hands steady, but her father's voice still echoes. "Baby girl, if something happens to me, promise me you won't let them bury it." She won't, even if it costs everything. Across the city, in a sleek high-rise office with marble floors and floor-to-ceiling windows, Congressman Park Seo-kwan signs documents without reading them. His advisor stands nearby, tablet in hand, rattling off the day's schedule. "Photo op at the community center, then the campaign gala tonight. Smile, shake hands, remind them you're their voice." Seo-kwan nods, but his mind is elsewhere. Last night's nightmare still clings like smoke. He rubs his chest absently, feeling for the ghost of that second heartbeat. The advisor notices. "You okay?" "Fine." Seo-kwan's voice is clipped, controlled. "Didn't sleep well. You need rest. The election's in 3 months. We can't have you looking tired on camera." Looking tired. Seo-kwan almost laughs. He's been tired for 24 years. He grew up in an orphanage until age 8. Then a wealthy donor took him in. Not out of love, but investment. Groomed, educated, polished. By 25, youngest congressman in his district. By 30, untouchable. But every night, when lights go out and noise fades, he lies awake, wondering, who was I before they made me into this? He doesn't know the answer is 3 miles away, loading packages into a delivery van, humming a song their mother used to sing before the fire took everything. The campaign event unfolds in a repurposed warehouse, industrial chic, string lights, catered finger foods. Seo-kwan moves through the crowd with practiced ease. Smile, handshake, a word of thanks. He's done this 100 times. But halfway across the room, his heart lurches. Not a flutter, a punch. Like someone reached into his chest and squeezed. He stops mid-step, hand pressed to his sternum, breath catching. The crowd blurs. And then, through the noise, through the lights, he sees him. A young man in a delivery jacket, stacking boxes near the service entrance. Dark hair, strong shoulders, focused, efficient. Nothing remarkable, except his face. Seo-kwan's pulse hammers in his ears. He knows that face, not from a file or a photo, from the mirror. The young man looks up. Their eyes meet. For 3 seconds, the world stops. Seo-kwan feels it again. That second heartbeat from his nightmares, pounding in perfect synchronization with his own. Thump, 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 matched. The delivery man, Seo Jin, freezes. His hand tightens on the box he's holding. His expression shifts. Confusion, then something deeper. Recognition without memory. Seo-kwan's advisor appears at his elbow, voice low and urgent. "Congressman, we need to move, now." "Who is that?" Seo-kwan's voice comes out hoarse. The advisor follows his gaze, his face drains of color. "Nobody, just event staff." "He looks exactly like you." "I know." The advisor's grip tightens on Seo-kwan's arm. "Which is why you need to stay away from him." Seo-kwan pulls free, but the advisor blocks his line of sight. "Listen carefully. If anyone notices the resemblance, if anyone starts asking questions, everything we've built collapses. Your career, your reputation, your entire future." Seo Kwan's chest tightens. What are you talking about? Not here. Right now, you smile, you give your speech, and you act like you never saw him. But Seo Kwan can't unsee him. Even as he steered back toward the stage, even as he delivers his speech to applause and camera flashes, his mind is locked on that face, that impossible heartbeat. It's him, the man from my dreams. Later that night, alone in his car, Seo Kwan pulls up a blurry photo his assistant captured of the event staff. He zooms in on Seo Jin's face, and for the first time in his adult life, Congressman Park Seo Kwan feels genuine fear. Not of scandal, not of losing power, of the truth. Because deep in his bones, in the part of him that still remembers being a child in a burning orphanage, clutching a small hand in the smoke before someone tore them apart, he knows. This man is not a stranger. This man is him. If you're feeling this story already, hit that like button and subscribe. This one's going to stay with you. Seo Kwan doesn't sleep. He spends the night in his private office, door locked, making calls to people who owe him favors. By dawn, he has a name, an address, and a file. Park Seo Jin, age 24, delivery driver, 2 jobs, no criminal record, no family listed. And at the bottom of the page, a hospital record from 24 years ago. Twin infants separated after orphanage fire. Adoption record sealed. Mother, presumed deceased. Seo Kwan stares at the words until they blur. His hand shakes as he picks up the phone. I need a DNA test, discreetly. His advisor's voice comes through sharp. Sir, I strongly advise against. Do it! 3 days later, the results arrive in a sealed envelope. Seo Kwan opens it alone. The room feels too small, the air too thin. DNA match, 99.98%. Probability, identical twin. He reads it 3 times. Then he sets the paper down and leans back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. He has a brother, a twin brother who grew up poor, working night shifts, living in a studio apartment in a neighborhood Seo Kwan has never even driven through. A brother who knows nothing about him. Seo Kwan closes his eyes, but instead of darkness, he sees flashes. Memories he thought were dreams. A small hand in his. A woman's voice singing. Smoke and flames and someone screaming their names. My heart knew you before my mind could remember, he whispers to the empty room. Meanwhile, Nyla sits in the cramped office of a private investigator, a retired cop who owes her father a debt. She slides the folder across the desk. I need to know what my father was investigating, who he was about to expose. The investigator flips through the pages, frowning. This is dangerous territory, kid. You're talking about people with money, power, Mafia connections. I'm talking about my father's murder. The word hangs in the air. Murder, not accident. The investigator sighs. All right, give me 2 weeks. I'll see what I can dig up. Nyla nods, but her instincts tell her she doesn't have 2 weeks. The men who killed her father aren't the patient type. As she leaves the office, her phone buzzes. A text from Seo Jin. You okay? Haven't seen you at the diner. She types back. Working. Be careful. His reply is immediate. You too. She pockets her phone, unaware that across the city, Congressman Park Seo Kwan is staring at a surveillance photo of her, captured near his office building 3 days ago. The advisor leans over his shoulder. She's been asking questions. About you. About the money transfers your undercover team handled last year. Seo Kwan's jaw tightens. I never authorized any cover-up operation. You didn't need to. We protected you. For your political future. Protected me how? The advisor's silence is answer enough. Seo Kwan already knows. His hands curl into fists. If anyone touches her, we won't. Not yet. But if she keeps digging, we'll have to take action. Seo Kwan stands abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. Get out. The advisor hesitates, then leaves. Alone, Seo Kwan stares at Nyla's face on the screen. She looks young, determined, unafraid. And he realizes, with a sick twist in his gut, that she's investigating him because the system he serves, the power structure he represents, killed her father. Everything he's built, everything he's become, it's constructed on bodies he never saw. Until now. That night, Seo Kwan lies awake in his penthouse, and the nightmare changes. He's still in the alley, still kneeling beside the dying man. But this time, when he looks down, he sees two faces reflected in the blood-streaked pavement. His own, and Seo Jin's. And he understands. The heartbeat that's been haunting him every night isn't a warning. It's a connection. His twin is in danger, and Seo Kwan is the reason why. Nyla decides she's done being careful, done being patient, done waiting for the system to deliver justice when the system is what killed her father in the first place. She shows up at Seo Kwan's office building on a Wednesday morning, dressed in her cleanest clothes, a simple black dress she usually saves for church, her hair pulled back professionally, her father's folder tucked under her arm like armor. The receptionist tries to turn her away with polite corporate dismissiveness, but Nyla's voice is calm, steady, carrying the kind of quiet authority that comes from having nothing left to lose. Tell Congressman Park that Nyla Carter is here. Tell him it's about the money transfers that killed my father. Tell him I have evidence, and tell him I'm not leaving until he sees me. The receptionist makes a call, whispers urgently into the phone, listens. Her eyes widen slightly. 10 minutes later, Nyla is escorted into a sleek conference room on the 47th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows show the city spread out below like a game board. The table is polished black glass that reflects everything, hiding nothing. Seo Kwan sits at the far end, hands folded in front of him, his face a carefully constructed mask of professional neutrality. But Nyla can see the tension in his shoulders, the tightness around his eyes, the way his fingers are laced together just a little too tightly, knuckles showing white. He's afraid. Good. Ms. Carter. His voice is smooth, controlled, the voice of a man who's spent years learning to hide what he really feels. I understand you have questions for me. Nyla sets the folder on the table and slides it across the black glass surface. It makes a soft sound, but in the quiet room, it might as well be a gunshot. My father died 3 months ago. The police called it an accident, a hit and run on a dark street. But he left this behind. Seo Kwan opens the folder with careful fingers. His eyes scan the documents inside. Bank statements showing suspicious transfers, wire records to offshore accounts, names circled in red ink, including his own, photos of meetings he doesn't remember attending, contracts signed with his signature that he doesn't remember signing. My father was about to expose someone, Nyla continues, her voice never wavering. Someone who used government contracts to launder money through Mafia-linked construction firms. Someone who turned public funds meant for schools and roads into private fortunes. Someone powerful enough to silence him permanently when he got too close to the truth. Seo Kwan looks up from the documents. And you believe that someone is me? I believe you know who it is. My father died because he found evidence connecting your name to illegal transfers. His last words to me were, find Seo Kwan, make him answer, make him pay. Why would he say that if you weren't involved? For a moment, Silence fills the room like water filling a ship. Seo Kwan's carefully constructed mask slips, just for half a second, but it's enough. Nyla sees it. Guilt, fear, shame. Not the face of a murderer. The face of a man who's beginning to realize he's been a puppet dancing on strings he never noticed. He remembers now, vaguely, the special handling his advisor mentioned in passing, the late-night calls that were taken care of, the files that disappeared from his briefing folders, the questions he never asked because asking questions was inconvenient, uncomfortable, politically dangerous. He'd told himself he didn't know. That plausible deniability protected him. That ignorance was a shield. But he'd known enough. He'd always known enough to stop it. He just chose not to look. Seo Kwan leans forward, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper, carrying a weight of truth he's never spoken aloud before. Ms. Carter, if you keep investigating this, you'll end up like your father. That's not a threat from me. That's reality. The people behind this, they don't negotiate. They don't compromise. They erase problems. Nyla's eyes flash. So you admit there are people behind this. You admit my father was murdered. I admit nothing. I'm warning you to stay alive. Before Nyla can respond, before she can push harder, the conference room door swings open without warning. Seo-jin strides in, face flushed from running, eyes blazing with protective fury. He'd been making a delivery downstairs in the building when he'd glanced at the visitor log. Something he never does, but today he did, and saw Nyla's name next to 47th floor, Congressman Park. Every instinct in his body screamed danger. Get away from her! Seo Kwan stands slowly, his chair rolling back on silent wheels. The two men face each other across the conference room. Time seems to stop. Or maybe it accelerates. Or maybe it splits into parallel tracks where everything happens at once. The resemblance is absolutely undeniable. Same height, within maybe half an inch. Same build, though Seo-jin carries more muscle from physical labor, and Seo Kwan has the lean frame of someone who works out with a personal trainer. Same jawline, same nose, same eyes that carry different kinds of pain. Seo Kwan's the pain of emotional emptiness. Seo-jin's the pain of constant struggle. Nyla's breath catches audibly. What is this? Seo-jin steps between her and Seo Kwan, his body language pure protection, voice low and fierce. I don't know who you are, but if you threatened her, if you think you can intimidate her because you wear expensive suits and work in a tower, you're going to learn differently, right now. And then it happens. The synchronization. Seo Kwan's heart skips, not like before, not the painful lurch of the nightmares, but something different. A recognition, a locking into place, like a puzzle piece finding its match after years of being lost. His heart pounds, but it's not his rhythm anymore. It's thump thump, thump thump, thump thump. Seo-jin's hand flies to his chest, eyes widening in shock. He feels it too. The impossible doubling. Two hearts, beating as one, perfectly synchronized, sharing a rhythm that shouldn't be possible across separate bodies. Seo Kwan stumbles back, one hand braced against the conference table. What is this? What's happening? Seo-jin stares at him, and in that moment, in the space between one heartbeat and the next, 24 years of separation collapses into undeniable, terrifying truth. You, Seo-jin breathes, his voice barely audible. You're the one I've been dreaming about, every night for months. The alley, the rain, the blood. I thought I was going crazy. Seo Kwan's voice breaks, all his careful control shattering. I dream it too, every single night. You're dying, and I can't save you. I can't stop it. And I feel your death like it's mine. The room spins. The city outside the windows seems to tilt. Nyla looks between them, her sharp mind putting pieces together faster than either man can speak. "You're brothers," she whispers. "Twins. That's why. Oh my God. That's why you look identical. That's why you're having the same nightmares. That's why." Neither man answers. They can't answer. They can barely breathe. Because the heartbeat is still there, still pounding in perfect synchronization, binding them together in a way that transcends memory, logic, time, space, everything they thought they knew about the world. Seo Kwan's advisor bursts through the conference room door, tablet clutched in his hand, face flushed with panic. "Congressman, you need to come with me, right?" He stops dead, sees the three of them, sees the way Seo Kwan and Seo Jin are staring at each other, mirrors facing mirrors, truth reflected back and forth into infinity. "No," the advisor says flatly, his voice hard as stone. "No, no, no. You were supposed to stay away from him. I told you to stay away. This ruins everything." "He's my brother." Seo Kwan's voice is steady now, certain, the most certain he's been about anything in 24 years. "This man is my twin brother. He's a liability, a political disaster waiting to happen." The advisor points at Nyla with a shaking hand. "And she's investigating a case that will destroy you both. Don't you understand? If this gets out, if people know you have a twin living in poverty while you've been climbing the political ladder, then they'll know the truth." Seo Kwan takes a step toward his brother. "For once in my life, they'll know the truth." Nyla stands, her father's folder still clutched to her chest. "My father was murdered because he found the truth, and I won't stop until everyone knows it, until the people responsible face justice." The advisor's face hardens into something cold and dangerous. "Then you've just made a very dangerous enemy, Ms. Carter. All three of you have." 3 people. 3 lives that should never have intersected. Bound together now by love that hasn't had time to grow. By power that's beginning to crack. By blood ties that were buried but never broken. And somewhere in the shadows of this city, in offices and back rooms and places where deals are made and problems are solved, the system that created this mess is already moving to erase them all. Neela finds the video 2 days later, after 48 hours of barely sleeping, barely eating, just searching through her father's things with obsessive focus. He'd hidden it on an old hard drive tucked inside a hollowed-out book about Korean history. The kind of hiding place you only find if you know someone well enough to predict their thinking. The footage is grainy, shot from a cell phone at a bad angle, but it's clear enough. An underground parking garage, harsh fluorescent lights, echo of voices bouncing off concrete. A meeting. 6 men in expensive suits, including Seo Kwan, standing in a circle. The conversation is muffled, but her father had added subtitles, probably staying up late nights transcribing every word. "The contracts go through these 3 shell companies. Money gets filtered offshore, then comes back clean through real estate investments. Park's name on the paperwork gives it legitimacy. Nobody questions a congressman. And if someone does question, we handle it, like we handled the last accountant who got curious." Seo Kwan's voice, barely audible. "I don't want to know details." "That's the beauty of it, Congressman. You don't have to know. You just have to show up to meetings and sign papers. We take care of everything else." The video cuts off. Nyla's hands tremble as she copies the file. This is it. The proof she needs. The evidence that will vindicate her father. That will prove he was murdered for trying to expose corruption. That will finally bring justice. But it will destroy Seo Kwan. And now that she knows he's Seo Jin's twin, Now that she's seen the way they look at each other, seen the pain of 24 years of separation in their eyes, she knows it will destroy Seojin too. Because loving someone, really loving them, means their pain becomes yours. Their destruction becomes your destruction. She sits in her tiny apartment with its thin walls and its view of nothing. Laptop open on her second-hand coffee table, cursor hovering over the send button. One click, and her father's death gets vindicated. One click, and the truth becomes public. One click, and she destroys two men who are just beginning to find each other. Her father's voice echoes in her memory. "Baby girl, if something happens to me, promise me you won't let them bury it." But another voice answers, Seojin's voice from 2 days ago in that conference room. "We dream the same nightmare. That has to mean something. That has to mean we're supposed to protect each other." She closes her eyes. This isn't just about her father anymore. It's about 3 lives tangled together by fate and blood and a system that devours the innocent and the guilty alike without distinction. Before she can make a decision, before she can think it through one more time, her apartment door crashes open with the sound of splintering wood. 2 men in black suits step inside, professional, efficient, the kind of men who solve problems for powerful people. Nyla scrambles back from her laptop, heart pounding so hard she can hear it in her ears. "The video, Miss Carter," one says, with the flat tone of someone stating facts. "Hand it over, and nobody gets hurt." "No." Her voice comes out steadier than she feels. "You'll have to take it." He pulls a gun from inside his jacket. The sight of it makes her stomach drop, makes the room feel too small and too cold all at once. And then Seojin is there. Later, she won't know how he knew to come, how he sensed she was in danger. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the same connection that lets him and his brother feel each other's pain across the city. Maybe he'd been watching her apartment because he knew she was in too deep. He crashes through the doorway like a storm, throwing himself between Neela and the weapon without hesitation, without thought for his own safety. The men hesitate, just for a second, but it's enough. Long enough for Seojin to grab Nyla's hand and pull her toward the fire escape, his grip iron strong, desperate. They run. Through alleys that smell like garbage and rain. Across rooftops where one wrong step means a 3-story fall. Down fire escapes with rust flaking under their hands. Into the rain that started falling, cold and hard, soaking through their clothes within seconds. Seojin's grip never loosens, never wavers. Nyla's lungs burn, her legs scream, but she doesn't let go, doesn't slow down, trusts him to lead them somewhere safe. They collapse finally in an abandoned warehouse near the waterfront, rain drumming on the metal roof like thunder, their breath coming in ragged gasps. Seojin checks her for injuries with shaking hands, his eyes scanning her face, her arms, looking for blood, for damage. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you? Nyla, talk to me." "I'm okay. I'm not." She can barely get the words out through her gasping breaths. "Seojin, they'll kill you. They'll kill both of you, your brother and you. If I release this video, if I expose the corruption." "I know." His voice is too steady, too calm. The kind of calm that comes before a storm. 3 miles away, in his penthouse apartment, Seokwon jolts awake from a restless sleep. Pain lances through his chest, sharp, sudden, visceral, absolutely not his own. He gasps, hand clutching his ribs, feeling the phantom sensation of running, of fear, of someone trying to kill his brother. Seojin. He knows, with absolute certainty that defies explanation, that his twin is in danger right now. The heartbeat connection thrums through him like electricity. Fear, adrenaline, protective fury. Seo Kwan grabs his phone with shaking hands, dials his advisor. The call goes through. "Where is he? Where's my brother?" His voice is ragged, desperate. "Sir, I don't... Where is he? Don't lie to me. I know you know. I know you sent people after him." A pause that lasts too long. Then, with careful neutrality. "We're handling the situation, Congressman. He's with the Carter girl. They'll both be handled by morning. Cleanly. No trace. You'll be protected." Seo Kwan's blood runs cold, ice spreading through his veins. "If you touch him, if you hurt him in any way, I will destroy you. I will burn down everything you've built. I will tell every secret I know and take you down with me." "You'll destroy yourself, sir. This is for your own protection, for your political future, everything we've worked for." The line goes dead. Seo Kwan doesn't think, doesn't plan, just throws on a jacket, grabs his car keys, and runs. Back in the warehouse, Seo Jin has pulled out his phone. He opens a voice memo app with hands that won't stop shaking, and he starts recording. "My name is Park Seo Jin. I participated in the money laundering scheme that resulted in government contract fraud. I helped move money through shell companies. I forged signatures, including Congressman Park Seo Kwan's signature. He was not involved. He knew nothing. I acted alone. All evidence that seems to implicate him was fabricated by me. This is my confession." "No!" Nyla lunges for the phone, but he holds it away from her, his face set with terrible determination. "If someone has to disappear so you can live, so my brother won't be hunted by both the law and by the people who want him silenced, it has to be me." "Seo Jin, you can't." "I can. I will." He looks at her with eyes that have made a choice she can't unmake. "I love you, Nyla. I know we barely know each other, but I love you anyway. And love means I choose you, even if you never forgive me for this, even if you hate me forever." He kisses her forehead, soft, gentle, final. Then he saves the recorded confession to her laptop, sets his phone on the ground, and walks toward the warehouse door. But before his hand touches the handle, the door crashes inward with enough force to rip it off its hinges. Seo Kwan stands in the rain, chest heaving, eyes wild with fear and fury and something else. Something that looks like love, even though they're strangers, even though they've spent 24 years apart. He looks at his brother, his twin, his other half, his missing piece, and something in him shatters completely. "No," Seo Kwan says, and his voice breaks on the word. "You're not doing this. You're not sacrificing yourself for me." "Brother?" "I said no." Seo Kwan crosses the warehouse floor in long strides. "You don't get to throw your life away to save mine. Not when I'm the one who built the cage you're trapped in. Not when this is all my fault." Seo Jin stares at him with tears mixing with rain on his face. "They'll ruin you. Everything you've worked for. Your entire career. Let them." Seo Kwan steps forward until they're face to face, close enough to see their own pain reflected back, close enough to feel each other's breath. "I've been dead inside for 24 years. Walking, breathing, but dead. You're the only proof I was ever truly alive. That I'm not just a puppet, a symbol, a photograph in the news." The heartbeat surges between them, strong, painful, undeniable, binding them together like a rope neither of them can cut. "I'm not letting you go," Seo Kwan whispers. "Not again. I lost you once in the fire. I'm not losing you again." And in that moment, standing in a warehouse in the rain with danger closing in on all sides. Nyla sees it clearly. The system wanted to kill them all, wanted to bury them like it buried her father, like it buries everyone who gets too close to the truth. But what if she could dismantle the system instead of attacking the puppets? What if she could save them all by being smarter than her father was, more strategic, more surgical? "I have an idea," she says, and both brothers turn to look at her. "But you have to trust me, both of you. Can you do that?" Seojin doesn't hesitate. "Yes." Seokwon looks at this young woman he doesn't know, this stranger who holds all their lives in her hands, and he nods slowly. "Yes. What do you need?" 3 days, Nyla says. "Give me 3 days, and I'll find a way to save all of us." Nyla doesn't release the video. Not yet, not in its current form. Instead, she does exactly what her father would have done if he'd had more time, more resources, more support. She follows the money. All of it. Every thread, every connection, every dollar that moved through the shadows. It takes her 3 days of barely any sleep, surviving on coffee and determination. 3 days with Martinez the investigator, spreading documents across his office floor, building a web of connections that spans corporations, construction firms, offshore accounts, political donations, real estate deals. 3 days of Seojin bringing her food she barely touches, and Seokwon using his political access to pull files his advisor doesn't know he's pulling. 3 days of the brothers working together for the first time in their lives, learning each other's rhythms, filling in each other's knowledge gaps. And on the 3rd day, Nyla finds it. The smoking gun isn't Seokwon. It never was. It's a trail of shell companies and offshore accounts that lead straight to 3 men. Seokwon's senior advisor, the party chairman who recruited Seokwon as a young candidate, and the CEO of a Mafia-linked construction firm that's been winning government contracts for 15 years through fraud and murder. Seokwon was never the architect of the corruption. He was the face, the pawn, the perfect puppet, young, charismatic, with an inspirational backstory and just enough ambition to be controlled, just enough conscience to be manipulated into silence. Nyla edits the video with care and precision, blurring Seokwon's face where it appears, overlaying audio analysis that highlights the other men's voices. She adds the documents her father collected, the bank records Martinez helped uncover, the testimony of other whistleblowers who were too afraid to come forward alone but will speak if others speak first. She builds a case not against one man, but against an entire system. And then she sends it to every major news outlet with a single message. This is not about one congressman. This is about a system that eats its own, the young, the hopeful, the idealistic, and turns them into weapons against the very people they wanted to serve. Here's the proof. Here are the names. Here's the truth my father died to expose. Within hours, the story breaks like a dam bursting. Not as a scandal targeting Seokwon, but as an exposé of systemic corruption that spans 3 administrations, dozens of government contracts, and hundreds of millions of dollars in public funds turned into private fortunes. The party chairman resigns by noon, before the press can even schedule a conference. The construction firm's CEO is arrested by 2 p.m., perp-walked in front of cameras for the evening news. And by 3 p.m., law enforcement has raided the offices of Seokwon's advisor, seizing files, computers, phones. Seokwon watches it unfold on every news channel, standing in his office that suddenly feels like a cage, his advisor pacing furiously behind him. "We can still salvage this," the advisor hisses. "Deny everything. Say you were deceived. Blame the girl. Blame your brother. Throw someone under the bus before they throw you." Seokwon turns slowly from the television, looks at this man who groomed him, shaped him, controlled him for a decade. This man who used him like a tool and called it protection. No, Seo Kwan says quietly. Sir, you need to. I said no. The advisor's face flushes red. You're throwing away everything. Your career, your future, your entire life. No. Seo Kwan stands taller, and for the first time in 10 years, he feels like himself. Like the person he was supposed to be before they turned him into someone else. I'm reclaiming my life. Finally. And he walks past his advisor, out of his office, toward the press conference that's already being set up in City Hall's main auditorium. The room is packed with reporters by the time he arrives. Cameras everywhere. Microphones thrust forward like weapons. The noise is deafening. Questions shouted from every direction. Flashbulbs popping like fireworks. Seo Kwan steps up to the podium. His hands rest steady on the wood. His voice is clear when he begins to speak. I have a brother. The room doesn't just go silent. It goes still. Like everyone stops breathing at once. His name is Park Seo-jin. We are identical twins. We were separated as infants in an orphanage fire 24 years ago. Someone decided I deserved to be adopted by a wealthy family. Someone decided he deserved nothing. I grew up with privilege, with power, with a future that was handed to me on terms I didn't understand. He grew up with nothing, working minimum wage, struggling to survive, living the life I was spared from through nothing but luck. Cameras flash faster now. Reporters scribble frantically. Seo Kwan can see his advisor in the back of the room, face pale, trying to signal him to stop. He doesn't stop. For 24 years, I didn't know he existed. For 24 years, we were both incomplete, both searching for something we couldn't name. And when I finally found him, when I finally understood who he was, I was told to stay away. I was told that acknowledging him would destroy my career, that loving him would be political suicide. His voice breaks slightly. I was told that power meant never admitting weakness, never showing doubt, never letting anyone see the truth of who I am. He looks directly at the camera, at Seo-jin and Nyla, watching from a coffee shop 3 blocks away, holding their breath. My brother tried to take the blame for crimes he didn't commit. Crimes committed by people I trusted, people who operated in my name, people who turned my political career into a shield for corruption and murder. He tried to sacrifice his freedom, his future, his entire life to save me from consequences I didn't even understand. That's who he is. That's the man the system wanted me to ignore. Seo Kwan's voice strengthens. And I will not let anyone harm him. Not the people who used me. Not the system that created this mess. Not anyone. The advisor tries to push through the crowd toward the podium, but security stops him. I'm resigning from my seat effective immediately. I'm cooperating fully with law enforcement's investigation into the corruption network that operated under my watch. Corruption I was too blind, too comfortable, too cowardly to see. And I'm going to spend however long it takes trying to earn the family I never knew I had. He steps away from the podium. Questions explode from every direction, hundreds of voices shouting at once. But Seo Kwan doesn't stay to answer them, doesn't wait for the spin doctors and the damage control and the political theater. He walks off the stage, past security, through the back exit, out into the rain that started falling again. And he runs toward the coffee shop where his brother is waiting. The rooftop of City Hall. Light rain falling like a benediction. The city sprawls below, lights flickering to life as dusk settles over Seoul. Each light representing a life, a story, a possibility. Seo-jin stands at the edge of the rooftop, hands in the pockets of his worn jacket, watching the skyline transform from day to night. He's been standing here for 10 minutes, processing everything that just happened, everything that's about to change. He hears footsteps behind him, running footsteps, urgent, and turns. Seo Kwan appears through the rooftop access door, suit jacket soaked through from the rain, tie loosened, hair plastered to his forehead. He looks different now. Less like a congressman, more like a person. Smaller, somehow, but also more real. For a long moment, they just stare at each other. Two men with the same face, the same heartbeat, the same blood running through their veins, separated by 24 years of different choices, different circumstances, different fates. But connected by something deeper than any of that, connected by the bond that formed before they were even born, in a space before memory, before language, before the world taught them they were supposed to be separate. Seo Kwan speaks first, his voice rough with emotion. My heart will never let you go. Seo Jin's throat tightens. Brother, I dreamt of your death every night for 6 months. Seo Kwan's hands shake as he speaks, his carefully maintained control completely shattered. I watched you die in my dreams, felt your heart stop while mine kept beating, and I thought I was losing my mind. Now I understand. I was feeling the life you were living, the dangers you were facing, the struggles I never had to endure. I dreamt of your death because I lived a life more deserving of death than yours. That's not... Let me finish. Seo Kwan takes a step closer. I stood in rooms with men who killed innocent people and called it business. I signed papers I didn't read because ignorance felt safer than responsibility. I let them use my name to destroy families like ours. Families that got separated, families that got erased, families that didn't matter to anyone with power. The rain falls harder. Seo Jin doesn't move, doesn't speak, just listens as his brother says things that have been buried for years. Your life almost ended because of my cowardice, Seo Kwan whispers. Nyla's father died because people I trusted decided his truth was inconvenient, and I almost let it happen again. I almost let them kill you both rather than risk my career, my reputation, my comfortable lie of a life. Seo Jin steps forward. The distance between them shrinks from feet to inches. We still have time, Seo Jin says softly, his voice carrying all the forgiveness Seo Kwan doesn't think he deserves. For the first time in 24 years, we have time. Together. And then he pulls his brother into an embrace. Seo Kwan breaks completely. He hasn't been held like this since he was 8 years old, since before the fire, since before the separation, since before someone pulled him from Seo Jin's grip and told him he was alone now, that everyone else was gone, that he had to be strong by himself. He sobs into his brother's shoulder. 24 years of emptiness pouring out in the rain. 24 years of pretending to be whole when he was cut in half. Seo Jin holds him tighter, one hand on his brother's back, the other cradling his head. I've got you. I've got you. You're not alone anymore. You're not alone. Their hearts beat in sync. Thump, 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 thump. Not painful anymore. Not foreign, just complete, like finding the other half of a rhythm that was always meant to be shared. Footsteps on the rooftop, quieter this time. Careful. They turn, still holding each other, and see Nyla walking toward them. She's carrying an umbrella, but she's not using it, letting the rain soak through her hair, her clothes. Her eyes are soft with understanding, with compassion, with something that looks like hope. She stops a few feet away, giving them space, giving them this moment that belongs to brothers who've found each other after too long apart. Seo Kwan pulls back from Seo Jin slowly, wiping his face roughly with the back of his hand. He looks at Nyla, really looks at her for the first time. This young woman who could have destroyed him with a single click, who could have chosen vengeance over justice, punishment over healing, who instead chose a harder path because it was the right one. "Thank you," he says quietly, "for saving both of us when you had every reason to burn us down." Nyla nods, her voice gentle. "You saved yourselves. I just showed people where to look. Sometimes that's all it takes. Showing people the truth and trusting them to choose right." Seo Jin reaches out, takes her hand. She steps closer, fitting naturally against his side like she belongs there, like she's always belonged there. Seo Kwan watches them and sees something he's never had, never understood until now. Real love. Not the performative kind, not the kind that looks good in photos, the kind that chooses you when choosing you is hard. "She's good for you," Seo Kwan says. "She's everything," Seo Jin replies simply, looking down at Nyla with his whole heart in his eyes. For a moment, the three of them stand there in the rain, one life taken and honored, one power sacrificed and reclaimed, one love that endured through darkness and danger and came out stronger on the other side. Seo Kwan's phone buzzes in his pocket. He pulls it out with wet hands, sees a text from an unknown number. "I saw the press conference. I've been looking for you both for 24 years. I never stopped. I never gave up. Can we meet? Please. I need to see my boys." "Mom." His breath catches. The phone almost slips from his shaking hands. He shows the message to Seo Jin. Seo Jin reads it, his eyes widening, filling with tears. "She's alive? All this time, she was alive?" "Apparently." Seo Kwan's voice breaks. "We have a mother." "We have a family," Seo Jin whispers. Seo Kwan looks at his brother, at Nyla, at the city spread out below them with all its lights and all its possibilities. For the first time in months, maybe years, maybe ever, he smiles, really smiles, from somewhere deep inside that he thought had died. "We always did," he says. "We just didn't know it yet." Seo Jin squeezes Nyla's hand, then reaches out to clasp his brother's shoulder, completing a circle of three people who should never have met, but were always meant to find each other. The rain begins to ease. Below them, the city lights glow warmer in the gathering darkness. Above them, clouds part to reveal a sliver of twilight sky, stars just beginning to appear. Three people who almost died. Three people who chose truth over safety, family over power, love over silence, justice over vengeance, healing over destruction. And for the first time in their lives, they feel complete. Not because everything is fixed, not because there won't be consequences, investigations, trials, difficult conversations ahead, but because they're facing it together. Because they're finally home. 6 months later. The diner in Koreatown has new owners. A small sign above the door reads, "Seo and Carter, open daily." Inside, the smell of fresh coffee and pancakes. Mismatched chairs. A chalkboard menu with Nyla's handwriting. Seo Jin at the grill, flipping eggs, humming under his breath. Seo Kwan sits at the counter, dressed in jeans and a simple shirt, reviewing case files for the legal aid clinic where he now works. He's not a congressman anymore. He's just a man trying to help people the system forgot. An elderly woman walks in, the same one Nyla helped months ago. She smiles, waving. Nyla waves back, grinning. Seo Jin calls out a warm greeting, and in the corner booth, a woman in her 50s sits with tears in her eyes, watching her sons work side by side. She'd spent 24 years searching for them. 24 years believing they were dead. Now they're alive. Together. Whole. Seojin brings her a cup of tea, kisses her cheek. Mom, you're going to make yourself cry again. I'm allowed, she says, laughing through tears. I earned these tears. Nyla slides into the booth beside her, squeezing her hand. The woman squeezes back, grateful for this brave girl who saved her boys when she couldn't. Outside, rain begins to fall again. But inside, there's warmth. Laughter. The smell of home. Seo-kwan looks up from his files, watching his brother lean down to kiss Nyla. Gentle, unhurried, full of promises kept. And he thinks, this is what power should have been all along. Not control, not image, just this. Just love. Two hearts, one rhythm, one family, reborn in truth and choice, and the kind of romance that doesn't need speeches or grand gestures. Just presence, just showing up, every single day. The heartbeat that once haunted him now fills him with peace. He is not alone. He never was. If this story moved you, if you believe in second chances and family found instead of family given, leave a comment. Tell me which moment hit you hardest. And subscribe, because every week we're telling inspirational and motivational stories like this. Stories where love isn't just romance, it's justice, it's healing, it's home. See you next time.